Coming up on this week's Home Theater News Review, we catch up on key stories in the industry, including new technologies coming out of MQA Labs. Samsung and TCL are talking big screen sizes with some new models. ELAC makes a big announcement that will please your wallet. And Spotify, look out folks, Spotify has announced price increases. I'll also give you a lead on a 7-channel amplifier with considerable pep that will only set you back around $900. Of course, we'll check in on some numbers, talk movies. I have a few more deals for you, and so much more. How's it going, home theater fans? Today is June 10th, 2024. Welcome to this week's edition of HTNR. I'm your host, Todd Anderson, editor at the Home Theater Forum, avnirvana.com. You can catch this podcast on our YouTube channel or listen to it on Spotify and iTunes. Please subscribe so you can stay up to date. We also post links to each new show in the news section of the forum's homepage at avnirvana.com. All right, for this segment of The Time Machine, we're jumping back to June 4th, 1977, and that is the day that VHS was introduced by JVC here in North America at a press conference before the Consumer Electronics Show, which really interestingly was being held in Chicago. VHS, or Video Home System, was based on an open standard developed by JVC in 1976. Its HR3300U VidStar branded VHS player at the time of launch cost $1,280. That's about $4,600 in today's money. Blank tapes, and this is actually kind of interesting, blank tapes were $20 a piece back in 1977. That is about $72 these days. For those of you in the United Kingdom, that same player was called the HR3300EK and was released under the brand name Ferguson, which is not one that I'm familiar with, but if you're over there in the UK, you probably are. Both models featured push buttons for 8 pre-selected TV channels, along with these little mechanical tuning dials to make sure your signal was all nice and clean. You also had access to an electronic timer that allowed you to set up recordings in the future. The VHS format lived a really good life for basically 30 years, which is almost unheard of, it seems, for technologies these days. The last Hollywood movie to be released on VHS, well, that was in 2006. It was called A History of Violence. All right, time to dig into the biggest news in the world of home theater over the last week, and we are kicking things off with news out of Lenbrook, owner of popular brands such as NAD, Blue Sound, and PSB speakers. Now, just about a year ago, we reported that MQA, which stands for Master Quality Authenticated, had filed for the U.S. equivalent of Chapter 11. They were having big financial issues. Now, if you're not familiar with MQA, it was started by Meridian Audio and is essentially a system of digitally capturing and storing original master recordings as files that are small enough to download or stream without the sonic sacrifices traditionally associated with compression, okay? And that's the basic gist of what MQA is. Its design was to give music fans access to high-res audio without gobbling up bandwidth, and most notably, MQA tracks were mainly found on a popular streaming service called Tidal. Now, there's more to this story because MQA has fiercely passionate naysayers. These detractors really do not like MQA, and there's multiple reasons. One is that MQA requires licensing fees, and so people were accusing it of being a money grab type situation, monetizing off of older catalog titles and edging out smaller indie labels and self-producing artists that have, limited budgets. Also, some were saying that it just did not solve a current problem, that being bandwidth, that we really don't have anymore. And there was a lot of naysayers out there saying, look, MQA actually degrades the quality of music. It doesn't actually improve anything. And You know what? I think that's about as far as I will go with the MQA controversy. It's just such a third rail topic. I'm not really interested in touching it. But if you want to go down that rabbit hole, just go over to your Google machine, type in MQA, and I think you will find yourself lost in that fiasco for days upon days. Nevertheless, okay, when MQA began to sink, Lenbrook, they swooped in and bought the company's intellectual property and key personnel, ultimately creating the Lenbrook Media Group and placing the now named MQA Labs into the Lenbrook Media Group's portfolio. All right, so that gets us to the here and now in the announcement of 3 new MQA products. 2 are crafted to convert digital signals to analog and vice versa. One is called Focus, that's spelled Focus, that's for analog to digital conversion, while the other is called QRONO, that's spelled QRONO, and that is for digital to analog conversion. Now, according to Greg Stinson, he is the Chief Technology Officer at Lenbrook. Both are designed to tackle issues that can arise in the time domain, which basically can cause smearing of audio, which you, the listener, will hear during playback. The third MQA product that's being announced is probably the most anticipated of the 3. It was originally launched and demoed by MQA before they were acquired by Lenbrook, and the technical name for this product at the time was just straight up SCL6. Nothing exciting about that name, but that's what they were calling it. It has since been renamed Area. It's basically a codec that seamlessly ensures the best resolution possible regardless of bandwidth availability. Basically, you can think of it as a way of packaging a file for transmission, and it can be used with any file type. This isn't relegated just for use with MQA encoded tracks. Okay, now according to MQA Labs, Area has successfully completed testing for use as a distribution codec. So when I say that, we're thinking along the lines of streaming services, while also posing as a wireless transmission codec, delivering high-res audio with operational savings and reliability on the consumer side of things. All 3 of these new technologies are expected in various licensee products before the end of 2025. Now on to some TV news. A new report from Rasmus Larsen at Flat Panels HD says that TCL is capable of making mini LED LCD panels as large as, get this, 130 inches. That is absolutely huge. Now, don't confuse mini LED LCD panels with micro LED, which is an emissive technology. Mini LED essentially refers to mini LED backlighting that's behind an LCD panel. Okay, so transmissive technology. TCL was the first to sell a 98-inch LCD TV, and its display manufacturing division, which we've talked about before, TCL CSOT or CSOT, is now supplying brands such as LG, Samsung, and Sony with 98-inch panels of their own to use in their own lines of large format TVs. Now, all of those 98-inch panels are manufactured in what the industry calls an 8.5G factory, and that's where the mother glass panels are slightly larger than 98 inches by 86 inches. And of course, they take those mother glass panels and they cut them down to size for whatever size TV they're going to make. TCL CSOT has a new factory. This is called an 11G factory, and it can make even larger panels, like significantly larger panels. We're talking about mother glass as large as 132 inches by 115 inches, which, according to Larson, 2 130-inch panels can be cut from one full-size 11G mother glass. Okay, so you can see that 130-inch TV models are definitely possible, and TCL has even hinted that it might make a 148-inch panel from a single sheet of mother glass, which would be the largest traditional TV size that can be produced using material manufactured at its 11G factory. So I think it's safe to say that we'll likely see several firsts coming out of TCL's camp sometime in the next year. Speaking of large TVs, Samsung has announced 3 new large screen sizes for its top shelf micro LED TV line. Again, don't confuse micro LED with mini LED, which is the kind of display technology we were just talking about with TCL. Micro LED is more like OLED, where there are millions of individual diodes that can turn on and off. In fact, it has a leg up on OLED because it can reach much higher levels of brightness. And this is a particular kind of technology that I'm very excited about. And I know there's a lot going on in TV land, but the arrival of micro LED is really exciting. Now, because of their design, these TVs can lay flat against a wall. They have great off-axis viewing angles. These particular sets that are being launched have onboard Dolby Atmos decoding, built-in speakers, and something that Samsung is calling 4View, which is the ability to display 4 different programs at the same time, and the ability also to tap into Samsung's Art Store, basically allowing you to turn your giant TV into this massive art canvas. Sounds pretty exciting, right? Now, what's not so exciting are the pricing of these TVs, which basically starts at $110,000 for the smallest one, making these TVs truly for the elite. Now, shifting gears, let's go to the other end of the pricing spectrum where we find German speaker brand ELAC, who is adding a new 7-model series of entry-level speakers this coming fall. The all-new debut 3.0 series will have 2 floor-standing speakers, 2 bookshelf models, 2 center channel models, and a Dolby Atmos-enabled speaker module that can be placed on top of a speaker for up-firing Atmos use, or it can be hung and used as an on-wall speaker. The series will feature an aluminum dome tweeter for high-frequency reproduction, magnetic grills, and there's also the promise that the speaker will be easy to drive. So theoretically, that means that your amplifier doesn't need to be all that beefy to push these guys pretty hard. So nothing too earth-shattering there, but what's nice is the price. The top line DF63 BK floor standers are $1,000 per pair. The smallest bookshelf is only $350 per pair, and the 2 center channel models are $400 and $300 respectively. And that Dolby Atmos module I talked about, that is $500 per pair. So if my math is right, you could theoretically pull together a nice 5-channel system with up-firing modules for about, and again, we're talking about 7 speakers, somewhere in that $2,000 to $2,300 range. And if you're skillful with your AVR selection, you could probably get out the door in the $3,000 range. So not exactly rock bottom pricing territory, but that's solid lower mid-tier pricing that's going to appeal to a large segment of buyers. Now, to our last news story, we're jumping back to streaming, where Spotify has announced new pricing for its music streaming service. This all goes into effect next month for existing subscribers, but if you sign up for Spotify today, you're going to be hit with this pricing now. And this is what we're looking at. The individual premium plan, that is going to increase from $11 to $12 per month. The duo plan, which allows 2 people to share a subscription, that will jump from $15 to $17 per month. And the family plan, which accommodates up to 6 different accounts, that is going to rise from $17 to $20 per month. And if you're a student, your plan will remain unchanged at just $6 per month. So they want to get their hooks into you. And then once you're no longer a student, it's going to double up to $12 per month. Spotify currently has 615 million monthly active users around the world, with 239 million being premium accounts. The company reported $3.5 billion in premium revenue for the first quarter of 2024, with 418 million from advertising on its free tier. We still don't have any official word on a high-res lossless audio tier with Spotify, though last month a Reddit user leaked screenshots supposedly showing a software version called 1.2.36 that's in the works. Currently, Spotify's streaming bitrate tops out at 320 kilobits per second. According to the leak, users might be able to experience up to 1,411 kilobits per second, perhaps going as high as 2,107 kilobits per second, with listening support up to 24-bit 44 kilohertz tracks in the FLAC audio format. Some of the big releases hitting disc this week include La Femme Nikita, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, Shrek Forever After, and Shrek the 4 movie collection, all landing in 4K. We also have Species 2 in 4K going, though it is really hard for me to get excited about that one. And there's also this film, probably best known for a pool scene with Neve Campbell and Denise Richards. If you're thinking wild things, you are correct. It's getting another release on Blu-ray. It's being called the Standard Edition, but it's also landing in 4K as well. Over on Kaleidoscape, they are hosting a Ghostbusters flash sale right now. All 5 Ghostbusters films, including Frozen Empire, in 4K for just $40. And if you own a few of those titles, but you want to complete the collection, they'll give you an additional access to sale pricing just on those titles. Kscape is also celebrating the release of Shadowland Back to Black, which is the Amy Winehouse story, and The Strangers Chapter 1, all in 4K. Now, on to disc sales numbers, where DVD is just destroying the field. Right now, it is sitting at 73% of disc sales. Blu-ray is holding fairly strong at 17.5%, and 4K UHD is just slipping backwards again, all the way down to 9.3% of overall disc sales. Now, on to the disc charts, where we find Dune Part 2 is still sitting at number 1 for a second week. The Beekeeper holding strong at number 2. And then 3 through 5, we have some new releases. We have Bluey Season 3, Kung Fu Panda 4, and at number 5, Bob Marley One Love. Now, looking specifically at 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray discs, we have Dune Part 2 sitting at the very top. Now, here's an interesting one. Batman from 1989 is landing right there at number 2. Mad Max Fury Road is number 3. Kung Fu Panda is sitting at number 4, and Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi is at number 5. And where is Oppenheimer? Let's see. On the 4K disc chart, he has slipped down to number 12. And on the overall sales chart, Oppenheimer, he is down to number 19. It's looking like Oppenheimer might get bumped. Although, here is a little bit of a surprise for you. Barbie is making a little bit of a comeback on 4K disc, sitting right behind Oppenheimer at number 13. On to streaming movies, where we find, let's see what we have here. Ooh, interesting. Godzilla -1 has slipped down in the charts to number 2. Hitman is sitting at number 1. Dune Part 2, I really thought Dune Part 2 was going to make a much stronger showing than this. Dune Part 2 is sitting at number 3. Not surprisingly, Saving Private Ryan is at number 4, and that's more than likely due to the fact that we just passed through Memorial Day. And at number 5, Steve George, This Will Make You Happy. It is The First Omen. Now, let's hop on over and take a look at what's happening in the world of television shows. The Acolyte is at number 1. That is on Disney+. Eric, that is a Netflix show, that is sitting at number 2. Fallout from Prime Video is at number 3. And Fallout has actually been in the top 5 for, I want to say, longer than a month, maybe up to about 5 weeks. So in terms of what goes on in this chart and how fast things change, that is held really strong. Number 4, we have Dark Matter. That's an Apple TV Plus series. And at number 5, we have Paramount Plus's Evil. It is time to dig into the disc deals of the week, and I have 3 discs here that you definitely should have in your collection. This first one is a total wallet pleaser. The Hateful Eight on Blu-ray, just $5. That is a no-brainer buy. That's, of course, available on Amazon. The second one we have here is Pulp Fiction on 4K disc for just $16.49. That is a wonderful transfer. I happen to own that one. It looks absolutely phenomenal. So $16.49 on Amazon. And then our last one that we have here, and is The Darkest Hour in 4K for just $10.99. That's a movie about Winston Churchill beginning as Prime Minister during World War II. It's a fascinating watch. Some really strong audio in that one at $10.99 on 4K. That is definitely one that you'll want to pick up. If you're interested in buying any of those films and would like to support the show, you can find links to those right down in the description and the show notes. Now on to our gear deal of the week, where we are looking at a B-stock amplifier from Outlaw. This is model 7000X. It's a 7-channel amplifier offering 130 watts per channel, all channels driven. That's at 8 ohms, or 200 watts per channel at 4 ohms. You can search out this particular unit online and you will see that for the price, reviews are going to tell you that its performance is spot on. I mean, it is ridiculously inexpensive. And Outlaw amps now offer both RCA and XLR inputs on the backside, which bumps it up just a little bit in terms of its utility. Now, this unit is normally priced at $999, which is insanely inexpensive for a 7-channel amp with these kind of performance specs. Now, this factory refurbished B-stock unit that they have on hand, and they will ship it to you with a full warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee trial period. Pricing on this one is just $909. That, my friends, is a rock solid price. All right, folks, that's all I have for you on this week's HTNR. Until next time, be kind to each other out there, spread a smile or two, and I'll see you on the forum at avnirvana.com.